Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of the Caster Curse. The two lovely gentlemen are back on your screen, or maybe in your headphones, depending on where you're listening. You can find us over on YouTube, Spotify. Everything is called the Caster Curse. It's easy to find. You know where to find us. ThomSonic, episode 2. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, and I'm very happy to say that we are everywhere. So check it on Spotify, check it on YouTube, and listen to us wherever you want to. I'm looking forward to today's talk. I think we have a lot of interesting topics to talk about, with the Elite Series starting, LEC starting as well. And it's been a fun ride, man, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you worded it perfectly. Real quickly, I'll run everyone through the schedule so they also know what's waiting for them. We're going to talk a little bit about the LEC. Week 1 and 2 have just finished, so just like ThomSonic said, there's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the first week of Elite Series and a little bit about the second division as well. After that, we got a little bit of a cool new segment brought to you by ThomSonic as well. Some word associations. We're going to get to that whenever we get to that. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really cool. And lastly, we want to finish it off with a very controversial patch, I would say, mostly about the timing, because if you've been following League of Legends, Riot Games has just released a patch that basically changed the entire bot lane. And no, it's not preseason. Every competition has started, so we're all like on top of our heads right now. That's all going to come later today. First of all, ThomSonic, I want to ask you, have you been watching LEC a lot, or have you just been looking at results, or how's it going for you?
It's it's been a bit of a mixture. I've watched, I think, like half of the games, maybe a little bit less than that. Mostly the Fnatic games, because I'm still a Fnatic fan after all these years. And I've been watching a lot of the SK games, because Marcoon is playing, and that's our Dutch pride and joy right now, which we wanted to see on XL once again. He got replaced by Xerxes. That's not going so well for them, but I'm happy Marcoon is doing well.
I mean, he's doing great, honestly, with the like Elise pick coming out, and he's playing like super aggressive. And I mean, you hear casters say it every single time when Excel's or when Marcoon is playing, but it is actually the case. Like, this man needs to lead this team because of all like the young players coming in and stuff. I think he's doing a really good job right now.
I mean, they just beat Vitality, G2, and Koi in a row.
Wait, are they first right now? I need to pick up the rank.
No, they're second. Now. They're second right now. Vitality is first, like solely on the top, and then you have second SK, Mad Lions, Team BDS, and G2.
What world are we living in? And then,
I don't know.
BDS up there as well is something I definitely didn't expect coming into the split. I think if you would make a screen grab of this, I think no one could actually guess the year if you just take away the names. Like it's so weird to see Fnatic, of course, underperforming, going 2-4 right now. We've got Koi going 2-4 as well, something I didn't expect, especially after last year, because, I mean, the roster basically stayed the same. They just got Strygenda instead of Odoamne, but it's been working out for the lesser-known teams, specifically SK and BDS, just like you said, and I think it's really fun, because we got a very weird format this year. It's the new one. We've got the winter split that's going on, which still feels really weird to, like, hear that. It's like, oh my god, they're playing the winter split right now, so for people who might not, you know, be in the curve, be in the circle, can you maybe explain a little bit what the format is right now?
Okay, this is going to be very tough to explain.
I'm gonna chill. That's why I'm gonna let you do this. Like, I'm chilling out. Go ahead. Yeah.
Of course. There are 3 splits. Let's start with the first one. This is the winter split. After a best-of-1 single round robin, 2 teams who place 10th and 9th will be eliminated. So we have 8 teams left. They will go towards a group stage where the higher seeded teams, of course, can choose who they want to play. So they have a bit of an easier schedule. And it's a best-of-3 double elimination. The best 4 teams of that go through to the playoffs, which is a best-of-5 double elimination. And then we know who won the winter split. We do the same thing for spring and for summer. The winner from winter goes to MSI. If you win a split, you're automatically qualified to play for a spot at Worlds. And if you win all 3 splits, you are automatically going as the first seed towards Worlds, or the 3rd or 4th seed at the very minimal. You go to Worlds. That's basically the gist of it. And the interesting thing to note there is, okay, we play 9 best-of-1s, and already 2 teams are eliminated. So in the first 3 weeks, after the first 3 weeks, 2 teams are already gone. So if you can't make it work right now, which teams are not doing, like Excel and Astralis going 1-5, they have 1 week to make up for it. And if they don't, they're fucked. They're out.
And that's the thing, right? I've heard, I think Douglas say it as well, where he feels like some teams are playing like they still have this second half of the split to catch up on these best of ones, but that's not there anymore. And I'm sorry, I apologize, by the way, for everyone at home if this whole explanation was like super like difficult to understand, because it is really difficult. I'm really sorry. If you want to find out more, there are more than enough articles online, and for people that have been probably hearing all of these like format explanation videos constantly over the past 2 LEC weeks, I'm sorry you had to hear it again, but we need to include everyone. You know how we are. You know how we do that.
I have an idea, Rose. I can make the format for dummies. Okay.
I mean, I like it. Okay. Sure.
We start with 10 teams.
10 teams.
After 3 weeks, we have 8 teams.
Yes.
Then after 2 weeks, we have 4 teams.
Okay.
And then after 2 weeks, we have 1 team in that one.
Okay. I mean, sounds pretty easy. If you still haven't figured that out, I don't know how to help you, honestly. Like, maybe look up an article online or something, and I think some visual can maybe help out. Anyways, the format is changed. Is it for the better? I do think so. I feel like in the end we do play more games. I saw that at the start of the season. I think Medic posted something like that. You know, of course, it sucks for the teams that don't make top 8, that don't advance to the actual group stage, because your winter split ends really early. But it also gives you more time to, you know, rebuild and work on the things that you have to work before the spring split starts, right?
That, and it filters out the teams that are just worse than the opposition, like right away. And it isn't really good practice for the high tier teams to just stomp on the small tier ones. And those teams need to make differences. And the thing I like most about all of this, you can't go for a budget roster anymore. Because if you're out after 3 weeks, what's going to happen to your organization, to your sales? Everything is going down, right? So you're incentivized to go and spend some money into your roster, make sure you have the best players that are capable of actually winning something, because otherwise you're only hurting yourself, which I think will rise and level up the quality of play in the region as a whole.
Yeah, because that is also the end goal, right? I feel like this whole like format change comes from years and years of people asking, can LEC finally play, complaining, yeah, can we finally play the best of 3s again? Because best of 3s are generally more valued compared to best of 1s when it comes to competitiveness and when it comes to, you know, elevating teams, their power. So I hope that specifically on this international level, this also, you know, shows that this format change can actually work and can actually be very good for our teams. Right now, we've been 2 weeks in, so every team has played 6 games, and we've got a few outliers, both very good and very bad, and I think I just want to start with the first one straight away, because that is Team Vitality, who always manages to come with one of the most exciting rosters, but finally, they double down on it, and finally, they actually perform.
It finally works for Vitality, and they, like you said, they always spend a lot. They had Alfari, Selfmade, benched, and now they have Photon and Bo, and they have been like the highlight for me personally so far in the LEC split. Especially Bo, that man is so creative. It is so fun to watch. He always does something interesting. He is a psychopath, but I respect it. This man does things, and he is not punished for it, and I absolutely love it. He did get his first loss ever in his competitive career, though. So, Bo overrated, confirmed.
Yeah, unlucky.
But Vitality is looking good, though.
They really do. They really do. And Bo just reminds me a lot of Maurang. It's like, you know, a jungler that doesn't play by the rules, and I just love watching that so much, because you never know what you're gonna get. And I think the perfect example is Bo's first game in the LEC. Locks in Graves, takes red buff, Giga Psychopaths just dashes over the Dragon Pit, and he's like, yeah, Rex, I'm gonna gank you level 2. What are you gonna do about it? And I feel like that is a very good breath of fresh air that we definitely needed within the LEC, not undermining the other junglers that we have, because I do still feel like, you know, resident talent like Jankos, like Razork are still very good, but Bo shows us that you don't always have to play by the book, and I feel like it's really good.
But he lost one game, and you know against who he lost?
I actually don't know. I need
my
to check
boy Markoon!
My boy Markoon! Spicing it up, the Kingslayers, it's SK Gaming, finally relevant in the scene. You love to see it. I hope that, honestly, they keep this momentum going, because I like this SK team a lot. I feel like it's really, of course, cool to, you know, see Markoon do well, but also the rest of the players are just really likable, in my opinion.
It's really fun, right? But at the start of the split, you and I were talking about the LEC, and we both said, okay, let's just make our power ranking. We're probably going to have Astralis, BDS, and SK 10, 9, or 8. It's just going to be a matter of which one gets eliminated first and who doesn't. And now we see this, and it's just exciting in general, but SK with a roster that they've kept a certain amount of players. I think they kept Certus, and Markoon just comes in as like this, not really a carry, as a leader. He said in multiple interviews as well, like, hey, last year I played with only veterans, so I could like be taken away, like they could leave me. Now I have to do the leading, which is very hard for me to do in 2 or 3 weeks that I'm first ever taking this role on me. But it's working, I think, even better than they expect, but they're not doing it with lucky wins, right? They're actually playing a very organized game. Their drafts have been looking insane as well, picking up the elites like you mentioned before. They have a game plan and they are executing it properly, and that's what I really like about SK. It's not a fluke. Yep. I feel like this is actually just the strength of this team.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most important thing that I noted as well in their games, and you worded perfectly. You literally are taking the words out of my mouth. It's like they facilitate a game plan for themselves. Sometimes a very easy one, sometimes maybe a little bit more of a difficult one, but you know, the game plan is okay, we gank a lot with elites in the early game, we've got our Renekton in the top side, and it just works out. And when it works out, you can see SK works as a team, as a whole. I'm very curious to see their growth as well, because don't forget, we're only like 2 weeks in, and this team still has a lot to grow as a team as well. They've got some younger players in there that definitely have a very high ceiling, so I'm really excited to see what SK can bring compared to the rest of the roster, because don't forget, there's still a G2 in there that, you know, has some startup problems maybe. They looked very good week 1, they looked a bit less good week 2, but I mean, G2 Hansama, man, I don't want to say too much about it, but Jesus Christ, he played so incredibly good.
Oh, you're talking about the Draven OTP?
The Draven OTP. If that Draven does not get banned next week, I'm going to be so mad. Like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, we've been talking about, okay, you need to ban this champion against this one. For example, Evie as well, he's been playing only Cassante this entire split. Like, Hansama on Draven is an absolute menace. He can play the Lucian Nami, of course, as well. Who can't? It's so easy. It's so good, you know. But G2 is looking good on all fronts, which is very enjoyable. They have now gotten 2 losses, if I'm not mistaken. They lost against Vitality, and they lost against SK. So I think the hype is deserved, but perhaps a bit overhyped, because after the first 2 games, everybody was like, yo, level 2 invades, they're so smart with it, how can it be like this? In scrims they win everything. They are bleeding already now as well. So what do you think? Do you think we can hype them up the same way we have been doing, or should we lessen down a bit?
I feel like the hype comes a lot from like G2's wins being very good wins. Like, they just take over the map really easily. I think they won in 18 minutes somewhere in week 2 as well, or like a very short game as well. So whenever they're winning, they just know how to end the game, which instantly to me makes them seem like they're really good. But just like you said, they have shown that they can bleed. Of course, it was against a team like Vitality, which is also just doing really good right now, and then SK that we already talked about. So I feel like the hype is definitely deserved. This roster is performing better than I thought. I wasn't really sure what to think about Mickey and Hansama together, because I've never seen them play together, but they are the focal point of this team, what this team wants to play around. And then if you look at the rest of the players, you've got a super solid Caps that is once again playing a split where he's just performing really well. You've got a Broken Blade that does his job perfectly, and Yike, who of course has to fill the big shoes of Jankos, one of the biggest names and junglers we've had in LEC in his history, but he also seems to fit in pretty well with his team, in my opinion.
It's just the pieces fit, man. This is clearly a roster that has been built and fit together, and it works on the Rift as well. And I think that's like the polar opposite of the other Titan, at least that we knew, which is Fnatic, right?
Yeah.
Like, they, of course, have a dynasty, they have legacies to hold, and they have a new roster as well, with Reckless and Rux coming in the bot lane. But that feels like a puzzle that isn't really working together. The pieces don't fit. I don't know what it is. People were like a bit scared in the beginning, like, hey, we have weak side Wunder, we have weak side Reckless Rux, perhaps. How's it coming to fruition? Well, it is not. Like, the 2 wins that they got were interesting to say the least as well, right? It wasn't really deserved all the way. And I'm honestly concerned about Fnatic, because I honestly think that there is a very realistic world where they will be cut off first.
And yeah, imagine that they do not make top 8. Like, you're ending in the winter season as Fnatic, you know, one of the greatest teams that we've had. And of course, I want to instantly go towards this, because there's a lot of hate towards Reckless online. A lot of it that I agree with, a lot of it that I also don't agree with. Reckless as a player, to me, I mean, I personally really look up to him. He was like the person that I used to watch when I like started watching esports. We basically like got a little bit of the same connection there, you and I, because it's the same for you. I know that. So it's very sad to me as well to see that Reckless is just not performing. Like, if we look at the stats, I was looking at the game yesterday. That was the Monday, Fnatic versus Team Heretics, where Fnatic got a really good lead, and I was like, surely they won't throw this one away. And then Heretics, of course, due to the work of Jack Spectra being really good and just the team performing really well, they came back into that game. But if you just look at what Reckless is doing during these late game team fights, he's just not doing anything. And I think he just misses this like pop of potential that you see on players like Ruler, on players like Gumayushi, on world-class AD carry players that, you know, sometime in the game or sometime during the split, they just take over a fight and they do this, you know, unimaginable thing on a champion and they just win you the game. But Reckless doesn't do it anymore.
True. The main thing about an ADC, at least in my book, is you're the damage source of your team, right? You're the one that needs to make sure you put out those numbers. And if you're not hitting, sitting far back in team fights, that's not the role that you're going to take onto yourself. And a lot of the other people in Fnatic, for example, Wunder, is often put on something like a Gragas, right? So he's not going to put in the damage numbers himself. Rux, I honestly feel like we don't talk about Rux enough, because I think he deserves... he doesn't deserve more criticism, but I feel like he is severely underperforming from what we have seen at Worlds. Of course, he only played there in like the play-in stage, I think it was, so against lesser teams. So I feel like he's not playing really well in the games either. So it's a bit of a rough bot lane if you compare that to what we had before. Upset Hillsang, the pop-off, I think Upset was still the best ADC in the league. Not really sure why Fnatic replaced him in the end, but it is not working, and I don't have an idea on how to fix this, but they need to do it in 1 week, because this weekend will be the deciding factor for them. And if I look at the schedule, they're playing against Mad Lions. That's rough. They're playing against Los Stralis. That should be a win. And they're playing against the kings of the LEC, SK Gaming. So that's doomed. So it's really rough for them.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And I mean, you have to imagine the amount of pressure that is on these guys. You know, they come in week 1 with an insanely hard schedule, facing Vitality on day 1, then G2 and Koi on days 2 and 3. They end up going 1 and 2, getting the win against Koi at least, which also definitely was not a convincing one. So you have to imagine the amount of pressure that's on these guys, especially for someone like Rux that comes into this team, you know, like suddenly you have a very big fan base because you performed really well in World's playing stage. You come to the LEC and everything is not, you know, roses and like going well anymore. I don't know. There's like
everything is not rose.
There is a Dutch saying for it, but I forgot it. I tried to do it, but I failed. Unlucky. Anyways, the amount of pressure that's on these guys is like unimaginable for me personally, and I feel really bad for them to see them not performing the way they want to. I really hope they get their stuff together before week 3, because just like you said, there is not a second half of this split. After next week, we are done, and 2 teams are leaving us for the winter split. So I hope that they fix it, because otherwise it might be really doomed for them.
I think it really is. Well, we have, of course, a lot more teams. Is there anything in particular you really want to talk about, what you have thoughts about? Because, of course, we can talk about every team, but then we will be here for like 3 hours.
Exactly.
Which team are you like, hey, this is what I really noticed?
I mean, it might be a bit more of a controversial one, so I can already see like the smiles of everyone in their car listening to our podcast, like, there comes the drama. No, it's really not that bad. I'm just curious about your opinion when it comes to Astralis, because this is, you know, another split where Astralis is performing way under the level of the league. And to me, it is really sad that this one split that they had last split with Jonghoon coming in and where they, you know, got wins was like the only positive thing that I remember of them in like the last few years or even their entire career in the LEC. Because to me, this team always just feels like such a pushover. And I'm curious if they deserve like a spot in the LEC. That might be really, really rough, and I don't mean it like that. Of course, I really like all the players there, and I wish them all the best. But every split, it's the same thing. And at one point, you know, when are you going to say like, hey, this is enough now, and we're going to bring in another team, for example, like K-Corp, that, you know, shows that they are way more experienced when it comes to having a fan base and when it comes to having those proper kind of things.
I mean, I'm going to one-up you. Like, we all said, oh, it is sad that Astralis didn't sell the spot. We wanted different teams, which was the general consensus of the entirety of Twitter. Astralis is a bit of a meme team now, always ending 9th or 10th. Yeah. When they did get wins, they were like, you know, they're going to end up falling short if we go for the long run anyway, and that happened. And the worst thing about this is there were a lot of talks in the offseason for Astralis to sell their spot. So I'm pretty sure they wanted to sell themselves as well.
Exactly.
But it didn't work out. So if the people want you to be gone from the LEC, just because you're never doing anything. You're not investing in a very good roster. You're always taking the local talent, like the Danish, if I'm not mistaken, players, which is fine. They're good. Kobe is, by the way, smurfing, and he's just stuck in Elo hell, in LEC hell, which is
he's got
very
chains
sad.
on him. He's got chains on him. He's being held down.
He's chained down. It's so sad to watch because he's actually playing really well. But if the organization itself doesn't really want to be in there, I have a lot of doubts. And I hope for next season, because I don't think you can change mid-split. That would be very weird. That we have a different team in there. And it should probably be something of the likes of K-Corp.
I mean, and Astralis as an organization, when it comes to other games, they have shown that they can be at the top, right? If you look at their CSGO like performances, they've been a staple team there for years. So
yeah, but there's a note to put there, Rose.
Oh, is that so? I'm not that invested in the CSGO team, so I might have screwed up big time here.
If I'm not mistaken, the best players in CSGO have which nationality, or used to have?
They're Danish, right?
Yeah, and which organization is from Denmark?
I mean, Astralis, of course.
And why did they go to Astralis?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a connection there. You might be right. You might be onto something. But yeah, Astralis, I don't know, man. It just always seems like such a pushover. And it is really sad to me because it's another split. Like I said, it's another split. Like, oh, what's Astralis going to bring? They go 0-3. It's like, oh, okay, Astralis is not going to bring anything. And they're just filling up the last spot again. So who knows in the future if we'll see Astralis anytime soon.
I think we will see them and we will all cry tears. Not of joy, but of utter sadness. But it is what it is, man. I hope they do something at least. I hope they just show us some performance that is something to look forward to. They actually won a game against Excel this weekend, so it's not all bad. And they can actually still make it if Fnatic ducks up in this week as well. So if Astralis makes it, then I will eat my words, I guess.
Yeah, Fnatic, you have one job. Finish above Astralis, please. Otherwise, I'm really gonna start losing faith. Like it's been painful being a Fnatic fan, especially this split. Anyways, I think we should leave it at that when it comes to LEC. ThomSonic, unless you have any last thoughts, I wanted to continue towards the Elite Series. Do you agree?
I don't think I have anything else to say except for SK is surprising me. Same goes for BDS, and I hope they continue to surprise us.
Yeah, next week we'll know who drops out of the winter split and who continues. Which 8 teams we're going to take with us towards the spring split, so definitely make sure to watch, because it's going to be really exciting, and a lot of stuff can still change. But that was it for the LEC. Time to go a little bit more to our own region, because the Elite Series has started. Week 1 has finished. All of the teams have played 2 games so far, and I think just as we expected last week, we've got a clear leader in 7am, ThomSonic.
We expected 7am, Gank, and Agency to do very well, to be a top 3, but 7am is the only one that went 2-0 so far. They beat MCon and the Agency, and the Agency was a very fun match. They could have ended it sooner, I feel like, but Agency held on for a very long time. They played it really well defensively, and they really gave 7am a run for the money. So I don't think we have seen an easy split already, or an easy number 1 spot. I think they really need to fight for it, and that's something I'm really happy about. And 7am looks like they are actually coordinating really well with the 5 of them. Something I said in the previous podcast as well. If they implode, then we have a problem. Yeah. But it looks like they're doing very well.
I mean, and it's to be expected, right? With the players that they have, they bring a lot of experience. Some players already play together, like the bot lane and stuff. I feel like this team has got a really good head start, but we've seen it before, right? Teams that get a head start might not always be the ones that finish first at the end of the season. Look at, KRC Genk, who... of course, started a little bit questionable with Robot not being there on the first day. That's a little bit of an unfortunate one. I hope that doesn't happen again. But you do see KRC Gang performing significantly better when Robot is actually playing in the top lane, right?
100%. Like, he is just that good. He is back-to-back champion of the Elite Series, something like that. So he deserves that spot. He does it well. He came home from vacation this time around, which is nice. So he can actually play.
Yeah, is he actually home again? Is he home already?
He is home. He's home. He played the second game. That was very good. But honestly, I want to give an honorable mention to the Bash, because when he filled in the top lane, that was actually all right. He got like 2 or 3 kills on the Cyan. Hey, big boy, the Bash, respect to you. I like it.
The Bash, if you're listening, you are chilling in the top lane. I respect that on the Cyan. I think one time he TP'd in the bot lane, instantly went for an ult without looking at your team. That was really fun to watch. Anyways, KRC Gang, then of course going 1-1 in the first week. Maybe not exactly how they wanted it, but of course, with the Bash subbing in for top lane, it's maybe a little bit too expected because there's not really synergy there, and they picked it up on the second day, which is good. Were there like any other outliers for you when you looked at the first week of the Elite Series?
One that I really didn't expect was MCon to win a game.
Okay.
And they won against Northern Lions. They won against Northern Lions with a very weird composition with Lux, Rel, Bot.
Yeah, I want to read out the entire team, just so everyone knows. Everyone knows. Okay, so we've got MCon against Northern Lions, and for the people who don't know who Northern Lions is, it's the team that, you know, basically won all of the collegiate stuff, and now they're playing in the Elite Series. It's really fun to watch as well. MCon then comes up with this Dipsy-esque draft, as I should put it, with Cassandra in the top lane and Maokai in the jungle. Well, it's pretty traditional there. Broken, but traditional. Now we've got Jace mid lane, something we've been seeing a bit more. We also saw that in Fnatic, I think, in the LEC. And then we end, just like you said, the bot lane with Lux, Rel. And this is like the one combination I never expected to see together on a team, Thomas.
Mr. Sleeps has been cooking. Like, this man
Let him cook, man. Let him man cook.
He always has very weird ideas about drafts. And more often than not, I highly disagree with them. And I'm like, what are you absolutely doing? This is a disgrace to the game. But this time it works, which is respectable. It is very nice to see. I do think you remember that one clip where Sliver hit a 3-man ultimate in one exact line from a sort of a flank on Lux.
It's the play of the week,
just
even.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's the play of the week, of course.
It turned out to be the play of the week, yeah.
It's so fun, man. I'm just happy that they got a game, because I expected them to be like 0-14 or something, or like 1-13. So already getting a win in the first half of the split, like the first week of the split even, nice. I'm proud of them.
Yeah, and I gotta give props to Unlocked for this. They had like their media day right before the split started, and during the show they had like this little segment where actual Elite Series players were like rating all of the other teams. So you could also see that like everyone was counting out MCon. Like no one wanted to hear anything of it instead, unless they were wearing like a legit orange shirt with an M on it. Then they were like really big MCon fans. But besides that, no one was really rooting for them, which is understandable if you look at the names on that roster. Most of them pretty unknown so far in the scene. But for them to pick up a win against, you know, Northern Lions are definitely player-wise very more well-known compared to MCon. It's nice. It's very nice to see. I'm not exactly sure what their schedule is. I'm gonna like cheat real quick and just
Agency and Zen IT this week.
Okay. So Zen IT is to me a must win, because I'm just really not a fan of Zen IT as a team. Like and then I mean mostly performance wise, of course. I like the players, but not really the performance. Agency is gonna be a difficult one though.
Agency is gonna be I feel like they're going to lose in a convincing fashion, because the Agency is really, really good. And actually, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about as well, and what your thoughts on it. I feel like after seeing the first week of games and getting to know a bit about the players, of course, we know the players of Gank a bit, we know 7EM a bit. But for the Agency, I feel like the Agency has the highest skill ceiling of all the teams.
Yeah, you rate them pretty high, I feel like. I've started to hear this before when I asked you about your thoughts about them as a team. You rate them pretty high. What's the reason for that? Like, is it specific players that you just really look up to, or just them as a team as a whole? Like, what does this come from?
Okay. It's a combination of just having very skillful, high elo players that, of course, are mechanically very gifted. Mm-hmm. But the second thing, which a lot of teams don't do, and which the Agency hasn't done before, you have a standard which is draft and which is meta, which is completely fine. And sometimes you have a lot of wacky picks, like, for example, the J Smith.
Yeah.
They are convinced if they have an idea and they can make it work, it will actually work. For example, the Cinch Stop. This time around, that didn't really work.
It was a menace, not gonna lie.
It was a bit rough to see, but they are willing to try things like that. And I think in the long run, that actually is something that makes you different from the competition, because a lot of teams don't do that. They are like, okay, you know what? It's the first week. We believe Cinch Stop is going to win us the game. We're going to pick it and we're going to see if it works. This time around, it didn't work, but they are willing to make choices like that. And I feel like that really helps the team grow.
I mean, and how often before have we seen teams like trying weird stuff out in the first few weeks? Because we don't have a format change. We still just have group stage into knockouts. And, you know, the first few weeks, I guess you can use to like figure out if something like the Singe Stop is working for you. And if it ends up working, well, you've just got an incredibly insane pick added to your draft list, added to a possible ban list of your opponents. So I like to see it. In game, just like you said, it was a bit less working, but it was really it was a really fun angle, and it was a dipsy angle for sure. About the ceiling of the agency, the like question that we actually started off with that you asked me, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I'm not entirely sure. You know, just because I haven't seen enough of the Sidera and Crown. Like I've seen Crown piss smurfing in like Div 2, but is Div 2 really comparable to the Elite Series this split? I'm not entirely sure. The level might be close together, but is it really the same? I don't think so. So they will really need to show me like what they have in store for like 2 or 3 more weeks before I can properly have an opinion on what their ceiling is. Of course, I'm rooting for them. I really like the association. I love Dipsy as a person. Like he's so fun to like even talk to in real life and to like watch his drafts and see the Singed come out. So I'm rooting for them. I hope that they do well. But for now, I'm just really unsure if this team can like join the other top 2 and like really fight for the win. You know.
Did you see Crown Turbo Smurf on the Silas against
Crown is clean though. Crown is clean.
Man, like I've been hyping this player up before he even got into the Elite Series. I was like, this is the best player of Div 2, please someone sign him. And Dipsy was like, you know what, ThomSonic, good call. And he actually got him. That's not how it went.
What he's talking about.
That's not how it went at all.
The time, but he does.
I think that I know what I'm talking about, which is probably wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice. We agree. Perfect. Good to hear.
Okay. Nice. It's good that we're on the same page at least sometimes, you know.
Well, we've talked about a team that has won everything, but there's also one team that has won nothing yet. The only team, and that's Heat. What are your thoughts on that team?
Yeah, it's to be expected, I think. If I look at the lineup, if I looked at the names, I was not expecting, of course, a team that, you know, can really play to actually win the league. I didn't expect them to be this underwhelming in my opinion. Not necessarily like, oh, you lose 2 games, you're bad, but also the games themselves just look hopeless. Like, the bot lane is not working out. They're playing an Ezreal Pike game in game 1, or their first game, and it just completely doesn't work. You have Lemurion on the Graves top lane going 1-9, which seemed very clueless in the game, and this is with all due respect, right? Of course, I can understand that a bad game can happen, but it was really underwhelming to me.
I completely agree. I feel like things just don't really work out for them right now. They even lost against ZenIT, which, in my opinion, should be the game that you should win if you want to do something in the league, right?
I agree, yeah.
So that's very unfortunate. I'm looking at the compositions right now, and they had against ZenIT, they played Gragas, Vi, Cassio, Varus, Nautilus, and against, like you said, Northern Lions, they played Graves, Maokai, Irelia, Ezreal, Pike.
Yeah. That's the one that I just completely disagree with. Like,
you know, respectable draft though. Respectable. Not good, but respectable.
It's a draft that you pick a draft and you're like, yeah, we're just that much better than our opponents. It doesn't matter that their team comp is weird, because what does this team want to do? Irelia is going to jump into the backline together with Pauk and Maokai, and then Ezreal is going to stand at a distance, like firing Qs, but if your Irelia is not fat enough, she will like die like a fly on the wall. The Maokai provides some CC, but it's not super reliable, as it's basically only his ultimate, besides that you don't have a lot. Like, I don't really understand what the idea is behind this, besides, hey, we've got Stokebear x Bardo on his bike, and we've got Sumi on Irelia, let's hope he just turbo smurfs this game.
That, and that combined with what they're facing off against, because you have a lot of champions that do damage but not really are able to kill tanks easily. Like Eslol, of course, is not that kind of champion, Graves either. And then you're playing against Darius, Sejuani, and a Nautilus. Combine that with a Yasuo with Windwall, which Ezreal and Pike both doesn't really like, and a Syndra flex to the bottom lane. Yeah, it's just doomed. I just didn't understand anything from the draft. So I hope they do something different, because they're playing against Gank tonight, which is not an easy game.
Yeah. Possible.
So good luck. Oh wait, actually, Rose, no. I think we can do a 0-4 Heat in the chat.
Is that so? What is your second day?
The agency.
Yeah, possible 0-4 angle. Not gonna lie. I mean, I guess it's good to get these out of the way quickly, and then maybe, look to strike hard in week 3. I hope he gets their stuff together though, because it's not looking good so far. Let's be real. And before you know it, the regular season ends, top 6 goes through the playoffs, and you're suddenly like missing out, and you need to wait again until summer. I definitely think that they do have more in them, but for now, go back to the drawing board. Look at your drafts, because it's looking very coin flip to me, and I don't think you have the types of players that can win these coin flip kind of drafts, in my opinion.
That's what we call in Dutch an oefie doofie.
No. In Dutch, you say like that's like the most Dutch word ever, isn't it?
Oefie doofie, man. It's an oefie doofie.
I wanna sidetrack real quick, because we're only talking about League of Legends. We're only talking about esports, but it's like nearly February. Have you been going to school already? Because school for me has started, and not gonna lie, I'm hating my life again. 8:45, I'm there in the lecture room. No one wants to be there. Even the professor doesn't want to be there, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need to really like rethink my life decisions.
Oh, okay. I have been going to school, but my schedule is a bit weird because I don't have like traditional school like you do anymore with university. Like I have a lot of not theory, but the other thing. I go out
practice.
there, you know. I do practice.
You do.
Exactly.
I learn. You do.
I have coaching lessons which I can go to, and it's basically like a feedback session of what I'm going to do and what I want to do, which is very nice. And I just go travel through the entirety of the Netherlands to make stories, which is really nice. So I'm not that often in a classroom anymore. But yes, of course, it has started. I just finished today, actually, my second period, and I got all my points, so they can't kick me anymore. I'm done. I'm stated. I'm very nice and very good. So that's very fun. But I actually like school. They can't get rid of me anymore. Yes.
Let's go. No, I think we've talked about it a little bit before when you started at studies, but I feel like the way that they take on education, especially more with a focus on, okay, we're going to let students do stuff instead of permanently read books and like study up, I think it's really interesting. And I think it's really something that's needed as well when we look at, you know, persuasion of education and like especially education for stuff like what you're doing. So you're doing journalism, right? You need a lot of experience in the field, because it's literally what you're going to do later. You can read 50,000 books, but it's not going to, you know, show you how to be a complete and real journalist. So I think it's a really good way of, you know, getting kids familiar with the world, I guess.
I think so too. And of course, it depends on what thing you're studying, right? And you need a little bit of theory in the end, like journalism studies. We need to know why you do certain things and why you don't do certain things. But I really like it. Just go out there, do things. I think it really is inspiring and helps you be better at what you're going to do. But in your case, actually, do you wish there was more practice going on there, or are you just fine the way it is? Is it even possible with your study?
It's difficult because I feel like this is my first year in uni, right? It's actually my third, but it's my first year of this program at least.
We don't talk about it.
we don't talk about the last 2 years. Anyways, I feel like it's the case for a lot of these uni studies is because you need a lot of these qualities, like, you know, being able to write an academic paper, being able to look at previous papers and know how you can get the information that you need. So you need that in general just to like perform on your uni exams, just to write your own papers. So the first year, and for me, like the entire first year, is just so many like introduction courses. Like we're literally learning, how am I gonna write a paper? We're learning, how do I find the information that I need, which is so not interesting because it has nothing to do with the program that I chose. Yeah. It is just, you know, a very broad course that we just have to take because you need to get the qualities, which I understand. It just makes it very boring. And sometimes when I hear what you have to do, you know, you're going to different provinces in the Netherlands, you're gonna like film your own stuff. That sounds really cool. And not gonna lie, I'm a bit jealous because once again, 8:45 in the classroom. I'm not that kind of person, man. I'm not that kind of person. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But
we're gamers, right? We have gamer sleep schedules. Like it's so doomed. And sometimes I hate myself when I do it, man. I think you do the same thing. Like sometimes you go to bed like 2. And then you're like done with a couple of games.
2 is early. Like
exactly, 2 is early. But most of the time I make it to 2, but then you're in your bed and you're like, oh, let's scroll a bit on the phone. Then it's 3, and you're like, no, I need to wake up at like 8 or 8:30. And then it's 8:30, you get 5 hours of sleep. You hate your life the entirety of the day. And then you repeat and do it again.
Yeah, for anyone that like runs into me while I'm having school, if I run into you before like 1 p.m, I apologize for my behavior. That was not me. It's like a different person, you know.
It's a different Rose.
It's a different Rose, exactly. Oh well, that's enough for like this fucking sidetrack that we just did. I don't know how we got here. I don't know why we did it, but it was really fun to talk about school for a little bit instead of like a fucking all esports, right? But I do want to bring it back real quick to the Elite Series. I feel like we've talked a lot about the Division 1. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about Division 2 because it has all been started up. That's great. I think with the new, more organized division that we have compared to like the Dutch Tour, Belgian League Tour, the Luxembourg Tour, or whatever the fuck it was called, it's definitely more organized. I'm disappointed with one thing though, Thomas. Oh. And I'm really disappointed with the fact that Unlocked, in my opinion, is not doing enough to push this Division 2. Yes, they're tweeting about it. They're making like an MVP of the week, I guess. But if you do not have these amazing associations like Dynasty, like Ioma, I think they were as well, that are voluntarily putting up these streams every week for people just to be able to see what is going on in Div 2, we will not hear anything about it. And I feel like it's really unacceptable that, you know, Division 2 does not get pushed as much as it should.
I kind of agree with you. The whole idea of it was, if I'm not mistaken, community streams to like broaden their communities as well, at the same time pushing those games out there. That's the idea behind it. But if you're in such a small scale as the Benelux is, that isn't really going to work. If it was in France or something, yeah, sure, it would definitely work because those people are insanely focused on everything esports related. Yep. They are really rallying behind teams. We have that in the Netherlands and in the Benelux, but on a very short and small scale. So I don't think that's the right approach. What I think is a good solution, like the NLC does it as well, they stream their Div 2 and their Div 3 games on the NLC actual broadcast. At least they did it in the previous season. And I don't think people there, I don't even know if they get paid or not, or casters or anything. Maybe people just do it voluntarily. But at least you have the entire schedule. You get a bunch of different casters, like 2 or 3 changing per game or per 2 games. That's completely fine. But then you already have the following that you have from the main stream, and you're easily pushing it. And once again, the goal is to broaden communities, but I don't think that's very feasible with the way it's structured right now either.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just like you said, I'm not like basically saying, okay, Unlocked, we need like full-on broadcast for Division 2 as well, because I know that that's not possible. I know that there's a recession going on. I know that things are difficult right now. But I just wish to see a little bit more when it comes to Division 2, besides, oh, look, we've got another tweet from Elite Series, like, showing off that we're playing again. And once again, big props to these voluntarily organizations. And if you've casted a game before, if you've, I don't know, analyzed the game before on one of these streams, props to you, because you are bringing Division 2 to us, and that is what we need right now, because without you, there literally wouldn't be any. I just really wish we could see a little bit more from Unlocked side, because Division 2 is so cool to see, man. There's like, that's legit the talent that we have, because if you look at the Elite Series, let's be real, it's import city, besides, you know, a few Dutch and a few Belgian players, but mostly it's just import city, especially for the teams that are performing, and Division 2 is where our raw talent is, and it's where we should focus on as an, like, you know, group, I would say.
I mean, I agree with you. Like this season as well. This season we have like the most Benelux players since ages ago. But True. A good side note that you make there already, the top teams, the top 3 teams, they don't have that many. 7am has 2 Dutch people, 3 people from Sweden. Genk has 3 Dutch people, 1 from France and 1 from, oh my god, I don't even know the flag of that country.
Yeah. Mr. Orion, where are you from?
But it's like France.
Is it Tunisia? Is it Tunisia?
No. It's like France, Polynesia. Wait, give me 1 second. In the agency, good side note. Crown Nightmares, 2 of them, and then you have Sweden, Macedonia, and Romania. So the top teams are mixed import, mixed, I guess, resident, which is fine. But you make a very good point there. I'm going to actually look. It is French Polynesia. I was right.
This country of, what do you say? You were right. Did you say that? I didn't hear.
Yeah, I said like France, Poland, but I was
surely.
I was too scared to make it. You know,
French Polynesia. Get your geography right, people. Get your geography.
You were right though. His country of birth is Tunisia, but his nationality is French Polynesia.
Damn. Okay.
And he speaks French.
He speaks like a very. I hope he's not listening, because this might be a bit embarrassing. But when I met him in Brussels for the Pro Am finals, he speaks such a funny accent of English. I don't know, like whenever I was talking to him, I wanted to laugh, but that's of course super rude, so I'm not gonna laugh about it. But it's just, You know the French English accent, right? You know what it is, and he has it like cranked up to like 400%. It's like, are you doing this? Is this like your real accent, or are you just really showing that you're French right now?
Or what can we compare it to? Is it like, you know, those English or like American movies where they put like a person from France in there, and they're like, oh my god.
They're like, yeah, but that's legit what it was. It was like so super French English. I was like, are you just fucking with me right now? Because I'm not sure. But of course, you're not gonna ask a person that, because that's super rude.
No,
Especially
of course.
someone like that, you know. So respect to Orion. I like him. Very cool guy.
I like him too. It was very funny.
Yeah, that was it for Elite Series. The stuff that I at least wanted to say, especially about the Div 2 stuff, I really hope that we get to see a little bit more from that. Is there anything that you want to talk about when it's Elite Series related, Thomas?
Oh, there is something I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It has something to do with like a weekly thing. I don't know.
A weekly thing? Oh,
yeah.
wait.
Do you remember?
I might. Wait, actually, I got something for this. Give me a second,
Okay,
everybody.
okay.
I want you to, like, if you're in the car right now. I know at least one person that's in the car right now, because he keeps texting me about this podcast. He's like, shout out to our old producer Van Pay, Jeroen Van Pay, absolute banger. I know you're listening to this. I know you're sitting in your car right now. So fasten that seatbelt and get ready for the new segment.
The Caster Curse weekly segment, Word Association.
Word associations, you heard it right. ThomSonic, you did the soundbite, so I'm also gonna give you all the honors of explaining what the fuck we're gonna do this week.
Okay, the word association game. If you've never heard of it, you are living under a rock. It is a very funny game where you say a word and the other person needs to say the first word that comes up in their mind. So if I would, for example, say blue, the other person might say sky. And then we go next, cloud, you go rain. Doesn't matter. As fast as possible. We both have written down 10 words what we're going to do. We're going to do them one by one. And at the end, we're going to be like, hey, you remember that answer you gave? What, why, how, explain,
honestly,
elaborate.
This feels like a try not to get cancelled challenge, because I'm very bad when it comes to these kind of things, and my mind is not in a good place right now. Help me. So I'm really scared that I'm going to say like the wrong thing, but I'm going to try to do my best and not get cancelled on Twitter.
Yeah, I have things written down like favorite swear word.
Lovely.
Best.
Nice.
Okay, you know what? I'm actually not going to say that. Otherwise, I'm cancelled as well.
Gonna say, okay. Well, wait a minute. What are you cooking, man? What are you gonna throw against me?
No.
This is a setup. This is a setup.
It's a setup. It's a setup.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm gonna do you the honest. Like, you can start with the words.
Okay.
I'm scared though.
Okay. Are you ready? We're going to start off nice and easy.
Okay.
We're going to go fast though, so...
I'm gonna do my best. Like, I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. SK Gaming.
Bad.
Quick Shot.
Overrated.
Kaisa.
Very cool.
AD Carry.
Best role in the game.
LCK.
Very nice to watch.
RoseBND.
Best caster in the world.
Freak.
Worst caster in the world.
Jax.
Counter-Strike.
Jungle.
Overrated.
LEC.
Not existing anymore.
Okay, very nice.
I'm sorry. That was so bad. Was that it? Was that the list?
Yeah, that was the list, but I like that you turned the word association game into the 3 words association.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's difficult, you know? It's so difficult. It's so difficult to like think of one specific word and then, you know, just drop it out like that. Anyways, anything controversial that you want to pick from that list? I think there were a few.
RoseBND best caster, Freak worst caster.
Yeah, might have gotten those two like switched up, but I'll leave the viewers to decide on that one.
Sure. Is there a reasoning behind that?
No. Honestly, it was a dick move to place those two like after each other. Of course. Let's be real. I might come very close, but I'm maybe not the best caster in the world. I'm definitely not. So yeah, don't take me serious, please. Freak, on the other hand, I've got enough to say about this man. Not gonna lie, because I've been a big fan for Freak for a long time. He's like the voice of League of Legends, you know, when I started watching as well back in like 2014. But for now, and I mean this with all due respect, I'm happy that Freak stopped casting or quit casting, because I do not enjoy listening to Freak's casts anymore. The way that he sometimes really insults people just is so like out of pocket to me. I'm like,
Unnecessary.
What is unnecessary? Like, what is the like intention of literally screaming, "Go Mayushi, what are you doing?" And it's like, okay, bro, like chill. He misplayed. That happens, you know. And with all due respect, I know that Freak has been really important for League of Legends, and I'll never disregard him for that. He's been great in the past. I do really enjoy seeing him on the balance team because he gave me an amazing patch in the bot lane. So please keep it coming, man.
I mean, I agree. He's been a bit on the decline, so I think it's a good move for him to go over to like the patchable team, which he's doing very well. We will talk about that pretty soon.
Yeah.
But one thing I do like about Freak, and there was not a lot of things that are not really my style, he is able, when he sees a team fight, to pick out the most important thing right away on multiple sides of the fight. Like for some reason, he has this like vision of the team fight.
It's like a bird's eye view, right?
It's
like from above.
That's actually insanity. I don't like his entire style, but that's one thing that I'm like, okay, that's really impressive. That's actually really good. And that's what kept him relevant, I guess, over the past couple of years as well.
I mean, he's an amazing cast. I think we are both not disregarding that at any point, but I do feel like, you know, after being in the scene for so many years, I feel like Quickshot might be comparable to it as well. It's like you start to notice that, especially with newer casters coming in, they bring in the new techniques, they bring in, you know, new vibes as well. At some point, it's okay to just quit, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with that either.
Exactly. Oh, I think that was a very nice list then.
Yeah, I did better than I expected, not gonna lie. I expected some really, really difficult words where I had to like think in rapid succession to not cancel myself. Anyways, are you ready for yours?
Now I'm scared as well,
Yeah,
but I
you
am
should, as you
born
should.
ready. I'm born ready. Go.
Okay. We're gonna start in 3, 2, 1. Yumi.
Horrible.
Worlds format.
Banger.
Overrated.
Overrated. Duckling.
GOAT.
Faker.
LCS in 2023.
Enjoyable.
Fnatic.
A disaster.
Jungle.
Unplayable.
Current meta.
Worst ever.
Elite Series in 2023.
On the decline.
Esports in the Benelux.
Saddening.
Okay, those were the 10.
That was
Those
a
were
lot
the
of
10.
unfortunate ones.
Those were
And
the 10.
and also ones that can get me
That can get you. I mean, I'm giving you all the freedom to explain some of them if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't remember all the words, man. Like, you have to say one.
I feel like an interesting one was your answer on the Worlds format. Well, can you repeat it for anyone that's home?
Banger.
Banger. Do you like the Worlds format? Because there's a lot of criticism on it not being like double elimination, right?
I mean, okay, that's the thing that is a bit sad, of course, but I like that they are making changes. They now have the Swiss format, which is very fun. And if you're not familiar with the Swiss format, that is basically if you win one game, you go up. It's basically like in a sort of diamond.
It's like
you
a
go
Christmas
up.
tree almost.
Yeah, exactly. If you win a game, you go up, and if you lose a game, you go down. And at the end of the 5 games that you perhaps have to play, you need to be in the upper region. So if you lose, then you're down and you can't be up anymore, so you're not going through, right?
Yeah,
That's the gist of it, which is already more games. It's also not one game, it's best offs in that entire thing. So I really like that they're making changes. It's not the best, because we want double elimination, but it's going to the right direction. That's why I said banger.
Yeah, I'm gonna look real quick at the format now that we're talking about this anyways, because I vaguely remember, Jesus Christ, I'm turning into an angel here. It's getting really dark as well, by the way. We've been going at it for almost like an hour already again.
Really?
Yeah, it's 52 minutes, like Jesus Christ, and I'm getting a bit scared because, you know, doctors have been telling me that it's just really not possible to be in ThomSonic with ThomSonic in a Discord call for like longer than an hour. So we're on the clock. We're on the clock.
Really
But
scary.
I vaguely remember something like, are they removing play-ins or no? Or play-ins is gonna get changed, right?
I think it was going to be. I didn't prepare for this.
Yeah,
I think it was going to be changed, but the way seeding works is also going to be changed.
I can read it from this side, so it's a bit more clear. So we're not like speculating. If this can leave. 8 teams will start their journey in the play-in stage. The top 2 teams from VCS and PCS will be joined by the top team from LLA, CBLOL, LGL, and the winner of the WQS. No clue what that is. So we don't have LEC anymore, we don't have LPO, we don't have LCK in the play-ins anymore. That's all gone. We're not gonna have RNG smashing people in play-ins. We're not gonna have DRX coming all the way from play-ins to win worlds. That's not gonna happen anymore.
Nice.
But the play-ins will pair teams up in 4 double elimination brackets. Each match will be a best of 3, and the final 2 brackets to determine the top 2 teams advancing to the Swiss stage will be best of 5s. So a lot of games to be played in the play-ins already, and I feel like this makes play-ins so much more exciting because we finally do not have, an LCK team, smashing Brazil in play-ins, which always felt so, bittersweet to see.
We don't have Stomper Wompers anymore, as Dino Bynes would say, which is very Stompy Wompy in the 20-minute games. That's very nice. So we're going to get some competitive games in play-ins, which is very fun, and it also gives them a chance to actually make it, because last year it was kind of scuffed, right? You need to beat RNG, you need to
good
beat
luck with
DRX.
that.
Like it's so doomed. EG as well, Fnatic as well, right? Was it Fnatic? Yeah.
Mad Lions, I think. It was Mad Lions. Yeah, Mad Lions lost out to EG. That's what I'm sure of.
It was Mad EG indeed.
Yeah, they should.
So that's just doomed.
Yeah,
it's just doomed.
It's a very good change, and hopefully it gives us a more exciting Worlds 2023 as well, because I feel like the one in 22 is hard to top if we look at the entire tournament in general with all the storylines coming together. Like that's just peak League of Legends esports right there. I'm excited though. I'm excited for Worlds. I'm excited for MSI. It's gonna be really cool to watch. I feel like we should go to our last little segment of the podcast, because like I said, I'm on a timer. I can't do ThomSonic too long in the Discord call, or I would literally perish away from this earth. Anyways, the last segment that I wanted to talk about is the fact that Riot Games gave us an insanely huge patch, which basically changed the entire way botlane works, now that IE can be built second, Navori can be built second as well. And they do this a good month after the season has started, when we just come out of Preseason. ThomSonic, thoughts?
What's up, guys? Are you done with Season 12 and you're looking forward to the new season, Season 13, where everything is going to be different? Well, ready and buckle up, because nothing is going to change. The entire preseason, everybody cried because nothing changed. Everything was a little bit different, but it was just items and a couple of champions bought that. The other champions didn't do anything. Supports felt like they were not acknowledged. ADCs just did whatever every time. And now we're in Season 13. 2 weeks in competitive gameplay, everything is going to be changed again. It's an entire new game. Everybody is like, what the hell is going on? We don't understand this. Riot Games, thank you once again. You've done an amazing job, and you're not a small indie company.
Something in me says that you rehearse it a small amount. I really like
this. This is not rehearsed.
Okay, I respect it. I respect it. That guy, journalism. So you can fucking hear it. Holy shit. Anyways, yeah, Riot Games, legit, what are we cooking? You bring out, for me, as an AD carry player, what is probably the best patch since Mythic items and stuff came in. But why are we doing it now? Like, we had Preseason, and as an AD carry player in Preseason, the only change that I actually felt was Navori being a relevant item. Besides that, I didn't have anything, I didn't have new items, didn't get new stuff, and now, when the season started, they start doing this. Now, the argument against that is, okay, Riot Games, they need to get some vacation time as well. Of course, you have the holiday season with Christmas and New Year's and stuff, so they can't do, too many big things. But then I'm like, what is the point of Preseason? If we're not gonna have these changes in the Preseason, because you cannot tell me that, Papa Free came up with these changes after Preseason has ended. Because
their big, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but their big announcement video, what's going to happen this preseason, was like a summary of the things they already announced they were going to change. That was their thing, Yeah. Oh, the blast cone is going to shoot further with the new Drake. Hey, oh guys, come on, you can now vote if you want to go for the Drake. Drake for president, yes or no? No. That's what they did.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, not gonna lie. Is Riot Games on fire right now? I don't know, but it certainly does look like it sometimes, because they've really missed the mark time after time again in the past year, which is really sad to see, especially when I realize they came off off of an amazing 2021 with Arcane dropping, with Valorant being so fucking big. Riot Games was on the top of the world, you know. They were like doing amazing. And then suddenly it really feels like to me that they just don't want to focus that much on League of Legends anymore. And I can understand if you look at it from a business point of view, it's an 11-year-old game. Or even more, when I'm saying 11-year-old, it's already a 14-year-old game. It came out in 2009. For investors, how hard is it to like convince them to still invest as much money as they did in a game that is 14 years old? Games don't last forever, that's a fact. So I'm really scared for the future of League of Legends, and I really hoped that, you know, Worlds 2022 being as amazing as it was, pushed it a bit more for the investors' point of view, but I don't know, maybe it's a bit doomed. What are your thoughts?
I think, like you said, there is always an expiry date on games, and I think League of Legends is going towards that. I think we will have 2 or 3 more years, something along those lines, where it will be really big, or we need to see some massive changes. One thing we are doing in Europe right now, the co-streams, the Spanish and the French ones, those are actually really interesting. They kind of help because the Spanish stream from the past weekend LEC had more viewers than the actual LEC stream.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Holy
they had like
fucking
134k viewers when eBay was co-streaming. Nice. And the LEC itself had 128 or something.
Hey, Spanish people are fucking crazy, man, in the best way possible. Like, I love that shit. Because that just goes to show that so many people are still into this game. And, you know, I don't know if there's ever going to be a League 2. I've talked about it a lot with people. Like, should Riot Games even think about having a League 2? I really hope that they don't. I really hope that they just keep building on this game. Because there's nothing like it, you know? Yes, we do have MOBAs like Dota 2, of course, or like Smite, which is very different, but still, there's nothing like League of Legends when it comes to esports, when it comes to gaming. So I just really hope that they keep building on what they have been building, you know?
I will join you in your prayers.
We keep praying. Well, ThomSonic, seeing that we've just passed the 1 hour mark, I kind of wanted to start going towards the end. Is there anything that you still wanted to talk about?
I think we have hit all the boxes of today, and even did more things than we were aiming for, which is always nice. And it gives you listeners more things to listen to, which is also a W in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I might add.
I feel like last time when I was doing the outro, you were starting to like become my interpreter, so I'm gonna ask you to do it again. Anyways, before we end the podcast, I want to go out and like have a big thank you towards everyone that even watched the podcast, listened to podcasts. Doesn't matter where you did it, but you know, YouTube, Spotify, you know where to find us. If you send a message to us on whether it's be on Discord or WhatsApp, I really, really appreciate you. Even if you didn't, if you just listened, we appreciate you. We thank you for being here. We're doing this because it's fun, but you guys make it even better. So thank you guys for tuning in. You know where to find us, at ThomSonic on Twitter, at RoseBND Cast on Twitter, at the Caster Curse on Twitter. It's all on Twitter. That's where the place to be. Find us on YouTube, on Spotify, also at the Caster Curse. It's all got the same name because it's literally just that easy. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna be back next week on Tuesday because the deadline of Sunday is just not going to work out. It's probably going to be Tuesday from now on. But stay in touch on the Twitter, stay in touch on the social media. We'll see you guys very soon. Thanks for tuning in and have a lovely day.